Just come over here. It's just preparing to live stream. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. It is Thursday, May 6th at 6:01. I'd like to call the meeting to order with the adoption of the agenda. There are two pieces of correspondence that apply to this agenda as per the CAO. May I have a motion, please, to adopt? I've got it with the deputy. And thank you very much, Councillor Smith. Do I, any objection? Hearing none, that is carried. Thank you. Next is disclosure of interest. Any disclosure? I'm noting none at the table. Thank you. Okay, the purpose of this meeting is to discuss planning initiatives with respect to a site plan agreement for the Green Street proposed development. We have correspondence. Actually, first off, let me say that we do have Justin Harrow online from the Hastings County Planning Department, who's here to help provide us guidance when required and maybe make comment if need be to help council move along their decision. Thank you very much, Justin, for being here tonight with us. In addition, we have the CAO who was part of this process right from the beginning, and we have the developer on the line. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this evening. Items to be discussed are the site plan agreement for the Isbester Development Green Street, pages 2 through to 48. This was circulated a few days ago. Everyone's probably had a chance to see it, but it's a lot of information. And I believe this would be the first site plan agreement that I've gone through myself. So I'm sure we have some questions here tonight. So with that being said, we have 5-1 site plan agreement. How would council like to proceed this evening? Do I have a motion to get something on the table? Okay, so I've got a motion by the deputy. What exactly is that? To put it on the table? Thank you. I have a motion to put it on the table for discussion purposes. And I have a seconder in Councillor Hudson. Any objection? I am hearing none. That is carried. It is now on it's on the table for discussion purposes. Traditionally, what I do is I allow the person who puts the motion forward to begin the conversation. I can do that if the deputy would like to start the conversation, or I can ask staff for a brief overview of what we're looking at. Deputy, what would you like to say?
Mayor, I would prefer an overview by staff at where we are at the process right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that being said, because it is new to many of us on council, this type of discussion, I think it would be prudent just to have an overview of the documentation that we're looking at and how we got to this. So Christine, if you wouldn't mind just giving us maybe a 30,000-foot view of what we're looking at, and that will help prompt conversation.
Sure. So this process started with a rezoning application. And as we all know, at that time, there were a lot of concerns put forward. So staff has attempted to build all of that into a draft site plan agreement that's presented for your approval tonight. The plans have been amended to agree with council's previously approved road design and water and sewer design, and they make up part of the agreement as schedules. We've also taken into consideration some of the comments from the county and from the public with regard to privacy, and the fencing has now been added to the site plan drawing. The site plan has also been vetted by the lawyer to make sure that the municipality is protected and that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. What is also been part of the agreement is the comfort level and the recommendations of staff as to what level the road, which is now a gravel road, basically, it's not, what level it will be brought up to and how much the town could be responsible for. That's been built into the agreement. It's a small portion, just 10 meters, that wouldn't have had to have been dug up for the developer's purposes, but there's no point in leaving 10 meters of a road unfixed. It's not brought up to a standard where we have curb and gutter and sidewalk, because that's not something we would have done to this road. And it's not in our asset management plan. There's not enough traffic on this road to warrant that kind of. It also is similar to the development that was done on Brant Street. So with that, the staff felt that the same level would be appropriate. I don't think there's anything else in there. We tried to, oh yes, the lawyer had suggested 100% of the, for a bond or a security. And staff had discussed with the developer that 50% would be appropriate for this project.
Thank you very much, Christine. Anything else to add before council starts discussions? Okay, if not, I'm going to throw it out to the table and maybe we can start discussions. If anyone has any questions so that they'd like to address to staff, feel free to begin. Deputy Mayor, you have the motion, so therefore I'm going to give you the floor to begin the discussion, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. My questions and my concerns are not surprises to anyone. They're just the things that we discussed earlier, except a couple of things that came up in the CAO's report. The lawyer suggested 100% bond. Why did staff feel that that was not needed at this point?
Through me?
Through you, sir.
Thank you very much.
This is not a typical subdivision or this isn't as far as I know, isn't a normal planning. Normally, somebody would buy a property and be able to build on it without running services to their property. The $86,000 that is quoted, the Public Works manager and I feel is enough security that should the developer fail to complete the task would be enough to finish the road as spec'd in this site plan agreement.
Thank you. My next question, Mayor, is the question about the width of Green Street after Cross Street. It's irregular. It is at best 1.5 lanes in the middle, aligning where some of this development is going. My question is Green Street going to be widened as part of this process? Through you to the staff, sir.
Thank you.
Not to my knowledge, it's not going to be widened. It will be straightened out, as I understand it, as it's a little bit crooked and it needs to be moved over a little closer to the development side. Isn't that correct, Andrew? If you don't mind me asking the developer, he's online with us.
Sure, that's fine.
I think it is actually widened. Joe, it's whatever Joe's asked for. So I think Joe's taken it to whatever his width is that he wants, which I think is 28 feet wide with 2-foot shoulders on each side.
So Andrew, how many shoulders?
With 2-foot shoulders on each side is what Joe's asked for. So Joe asked for, I believe it was 26 or 28 feet wide. And it is being widened. It's definitely wider than it is, and it's whatever Joe's asked for, which is actually spec'd on the plans from the engineers as well. So,
thank you.
Could I get clarification on what plan that shows, please?
I think
it's the plan from oh, isn't that awful? From Jewel.
Yeah, which page is it on? Do you know, Andrew, where would we find the road width on there? Is it this one? Can you see that on the screen? I'm sharing.
The one with the utilities, Christine?
I think it's the first document in that package.
In the first package, correct, Christine?
Well, it would be the
Oh,
same.
it'd be the same package. That's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, thank you.
This is the updated drawings from the engineer with the fencing and the updated road specs, and I'm wondering if it's the one at
So
the end.
can we go
See,
back to that, Christine? Maybe
first one?
maybe that's a good starting point. Let's
That-
take a look and see what's on that. Like
That
if
middle
someone,
one, I'm sorry, that middle one shows like an expansion. Is that what that means? EXP by 400 something, that not the document we're looking at right now, but the next one shows the street widening.
I'm trying to determine that, Councillor Hudson.
Okay,
if we can start right from the beginning, maybe if we can just take a look at the first drawing and maybe just explain to us what we're looking at. Is there
Sorry.
somebody on the phone that might be able to assist us with that in interpreting what we're looking at?
Sorry, guys, I think I got cut off. So it wouldn't be that drawing. I think that's just the overall site. You have to go, it might be on that drawing right there. You might have to scroll back a bit. It might be that drawing right there. I can't tell you exactly. And I don't, like, my engineer's not on, but it's basically, it might not be that drawing. It might be another one after that.
I thought it was, this doesn't show it, eh?
I'm seeing a shoulder, but I don't see any straightening or widening of the road. I see the existing road shaded, but I don't see any indication that it's being changed in its scope on the first drawing. I see the shoulder line and I see the center of the ditch. Absolutely. Those are clearly there, but I don't see any indication that the road is being straightened and widened where it narrows in the middle by lot 41 and across from lot 230.
It might be one of those things with the lack of total clarity this evening. We might need to get clarity, Deputy Mayor, in order to answer your query.
Thank you. I can move on if we can't dig further tonight. That's fine.
How about this, for the sake of continuity of the discussion, Deputy Mayor, what we're going to do is let's take note that you have an open question on the table with respect to road width.
Thank you.
I'm sure people in the background are working on getting us an answer right now as we speak. So if that's on a table, we can get it another now. Let's proceed.
Thank you. In the presentation, the discussion of sidewalks and gutters, staff have indicated that they feel that this is not a concern. This ties in with the road width. As we are intensifying, and that's the language that was used in the public meeting documents that were shared on the 13th, and we're creating a 10-unit place where there is no residences at this point. We are intensifying. Either that road needs to be brought up to a proper width all the way across, or some pedestrian sidewalks need to be put in. Looking back at the January meeting and the report provided by the developers planner, there is a lot of citations from the provincial policy statement talking about accessibility and walkability. Part of urbanization is making sure the full infrastructure is put in. Now, I'm willing to be flexible here, but unless there is a widened road, there is a need for sidewalks. That is a safety concern that I'm going to ask right now. That's just part of the discussion tonight. I do have a concern that the green space and the landscaping maps are not part of this. I know we did discuss the tree situation and all the green features. I would like this written into the site plan to ensure that those are executed. Also, I do have a concern about street lighting. There is no street lighting there. There is no need at this point because it is a barren field. There are no residences on that road. Now that we are intensifying to the point where there are 10 new residents going in, there seems to be a need for additional augmentation of street lighting, especially that road being narrow. We have a safety issue there. So I would like that discussed as part of tonight's situation. And just the curb situation as well. If there are sidewalks, there would be logically a time to put a curb in on one side. So that's where I'm at right now. These aren't things that I didn't discuss prior. And I'll leave it at that there, Worship. Thank you.
Okay, so with that being said, you've put stuff on the table. We need to, I guess, start knocking down questions. I guess street lighting. Maybe we can get comment from staff on a couple of these to maybe help get some clarity. With respects to the question with regards to street lighting, what was the conversation? What was the resolution? Because if it is not in the plan, if maybe someone from staff can just advise what was the discussion and what's the action moving forward.
As I said, it was this site plan agreement was developed based on what happened on Brant Street. I don't believe there was discussion about streetlights with Andrew. So
Okay, so that might be an open topic that maybe has to be readdressed. The deputy mayor, you brought up an additional question with respects to the landscaping and previous conversations that we had. Can you please jog my memory again with respects to those conversations, sir, of exactly what we're discussing right now?
So in the January 13th meeting, there was a plan presented, part of the Jewel Engineering plans, outlining the landscaping that was going to be put in for this project, some nice trees. There was a discussion about using landscaping at the back of the lot to provide additional privacy in certain areas to alleviate some of the neighbors' concerns. I believe some of the neighbors on the second meeting heard that and were, thought that would be a good way to deal with the intensification. I would just like that in the site plan because let's face it, landscaping is the last thing that's done in any project. And if there's a budget that gets hacked at, it's the landscaping budget. And I think some of the concerns that we had about privacy and intensification could be alleviated by ensuring that landscaping is there.
Just so we're all on the same page and that we have the ability to interpret these drawings well, at the end of the day, I think everybody on council and everybody involved is doing their best effort here to try to interpret what we're looking at, but none of us are engineers on here. Oh, actually, I can't say none of us. Maybe there is one or two.
No.
With that being said, though, if we can start, Christine, maybe let's just go through the site plan itself. Like, let's talk to us. Tell us, what are we looking at here in detail? Is there landscaping provisions put in place? Maybe take a look at one of the drawings, and for the sake of all involved, let's pretend we know nothing. Let's take a look at the Jewel drawing. That is the most, I guess, descriptive. Maybe is that the best place to start?
I am not an engineer. The plans have been developed based on, Andrew has gone back to his engineer based on our discussions.
Yes.
I don't think there will be a problem if you request from the developer that the plans that he submitted in January by his planner are incorporated into the site plan drawings. I would have expected that they would be, but I have no way of interpreting that either.
Okay. So I guess that's where we're
I don't know if Andrew or Justin can weigh in on this because I'm out of my, I had the lawyer look over the site plan and dotted the i's as far as protecting the municipality in the way of insurance and so on. I did my best to make sure that the plans were as up to date as we could have them, but I can't answer those questions for you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I appreciate that, and thank you for your honesty and your fairness with that. I wouldn't expect everyone to know everything about it. I guess my point was this: I can't confirm one way or another if those provisions aren't already incorporated into this site plan specifically. That's why I was asking. I was giving the benefit of a doubt that it's possibly there, but with the lack of confirmation one way or the other, I guess that's what we would be asking for, is that those provisions be added and then updated and bring back to council for further site plan approval. I don't know what else to do with the lack of clarity.
It's Andrew. I just wondered if I could just If I could just chime in. So if we talk about the landscaping, I'm just looking at the document right now from RFA. So RFA, on their document, they do have a landscape plan where it actually shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 brand new trees being put right across the front. So we've got autumn blaze across the front, autumn blaze on the corner, and then honey locust going sort of on the, I guess it would be the northwest corner. So we've got all of that. In terms of any landscaping in the back, all that landscaping is going to do is it's going to benefit the current residents versus benefiting the back, because now we're doing a fence. So we're doing a 6 or 8 foot high privacy fence. So the only benefactors of the landscaping in the back are going to be my residents, which obviously that would be my choice. But from a privacy situation, we've taken care of the privacy through a fence, which we made that concession pretty quickly and said no problem. I even said it in the last public meetings. There is, we've got all brand new trees across the front, a total of 12 trees are actually got the common name, they've got the Latin name, they've got the diameter that they need to be, the height they need to be, the condition they need to be. So everything is there from a landscaping perspective.
Andrew,
Yeah.
is that on the drawings though? That's the problem. Is it in the
Oh,
site?
yes, it is.
That's what
Yeah,
I was asking for, was clarity of
Yeah.
that point specifically. And I want to see
Yeah.
I want the drawing thrown up on the screen right now for all of
Where
us to go through it.
So it's actually the RFA. So what you have
Oh, the
scrolling
RFA.
through, you're scrolling through all of the Jewel Engineering stuff, which would take care of the road.
Okay.
This is all part of, so we've got all the parking, we've got the proposed building, and we've got all the landscaping on there
So-
right now.
So Andrew, if I just made that a schedule as part of the site plan, and had the lawyer rewrite to say that you have to do things however they are in that plan, would that satisfy council and
Yes.
You've got job number 739 SP is the drawing. Drawing number, it's actually the overall site plan. So it actually takes everything into account, from everything from the area of the building to the landscape open space. I've actually, staying corrected, they've actually got three separate planting schedules. There's 3 separate varieties of trees: honey locust, autumn blaze maple, little linden, and more autumn blaze maple, all starting at the south end of the property, running all across the front and all across the north end of the property. And then of course, obviously now, which we've had added to the drawing, we now have a privacy fence all the way across the Cross Street properties as well as the Brant Street properties. So from a landscape perspective, I think that it's pretty well been taken care of, and we always planned on doing that.
Thank you, Andrew. That was the clarity I was looking for in my previous request, was whether or not it's incorporated here. We're obviously not looking at the documentation that indicates that, so I do appreciate the clarity. I believe that the CAO, though, presented an option to us that seemed like it should be amicable for all involved by making an addition to a schedule of the agreement of the site plan. Christine, can you just please reiterate that one last time to council so we have full understanding, so I can move on with the next point of discussion, please?
So the idea of the site plan agreement is to ensure that everything is in writing and agreed upon. With the site plan agreement has been designed to include the engineer's drawing. It has not been designed to include at this time the planner's landscaping plan.
I would like to have that added if we could.
Mayor, I'll make that a motion.
Well, thank you. And the work's already been done. We've already had a discussion. The developer is showing lots of interest to abide by it. I think it's just now natural course of action moving forward. I have a motion to add that. May I have a seconder, please? I have it with Councillor Hudson. Any discussion? Moved. Thank you. That has moved. Okay, so we've got two open pieces of correspondence that I can't answer at this point in time. One was the question from the deputy mayor regarding street lighting. The other one was with respects to making sure that the road width accommodates pedestrian walkway of some kind to make sure that it is safe for mobility and access for all involved. I believe that it's undetermined at this point in time exactly how wide it's going to be. It doesn't allow for that, and whether or not it will allow for suitable pedestrian access. I believe is that fair summary of where we're at? Deputy?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's fairly fair, but it doesn't preclude the discussion about sidewalks. And I'm just going to add, we looked at the Brant Street in developing this, but not too long ago on the parallel street on Mill Street, there was a 5 building put in and sidewalks were included in order to accommodate more mobility. There are currently 7 residences on that part of Mill Street, north of Cross Street. We're looking at 10 residences here. So there is sort of a parallel, considering that there is a narrow street with an potential intensity of traffic building, mixed use families. Safety has to be taken into account. So I think that needs to still be open as part of the discussion on whether that road is wide enough. If it's not, then we need to make some sort of allowance for safe pedestrian walkways. Thank you.
And I think that's what we're trying to determine right now is what is the width of that, so we can determine what is a suitable safe pedestrian walkway. Am I missing anything here? No.
Yeah, I'm
So
just looking at the plans right now, and I just don't see where it actually indicates. Where I got my number was from Joe in terms of exactly what he wants from a municipal standard for a road width, and that's where we went.
Yep.
So I'd have to just confirm with my engineer to find out, just get her to scale it, and she'll tell us how wide it is, or she'll put an amendment to her drawing indicating the width that Joe has asked us for, that he determined was going to be, safe for whatever he wanted to do for his actual road itself. So.
Okay, so it looks like we have to get a little bit more information back on that topic specifically. If I could also ask, I'd like comment from the streets department supervisor. What was his intent for the for pedestrian walkways in his request? Possibly he did factor something in that we just don't know at this point in time. But in order to move forward, I think we're going to need that information. Deputy?
And if I could just stress, I'm not looking for a sidewalk from the tip of Cross Street all the way to North Street. It would be logically ended at the last driveway or the first driveway, depending on what we decide. Maybe there's a wide enough shoulder to provide safety, but it would just be the logical spot. It would not be the entire width, which where I'd be looking at. I would be looking at a logical, because it's costly and we know it, but it's an important safety feature. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we've had a little bit of conversation about that specifically, and we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait for a little bit more information come back from staff, and then we can have a further conversation. Deputy Mayor, I believe that you've had the floor. We've got a couple of action items out there looking for clarification. I think I'm going to move on to the rest of council and find out if anybody else has any other comment. Thank you. Councillor Hudson, you did try to get my attention. I saw that. You are on mute right now. If you would like to make comment, feel free.
You covered my question that I was looking for clarification on. The only other thing, just with regards to the plan in general, when I was going through it, there was one chart that I was unsure if it was fully finished. Not really that big of a deal, but I just wanted to make sure that I was fully reading the document properly. And I've actually appreciated the clarification that we're having in this meeting tonight. Sorry, I missed the meeting on Monday.
Oh, no problem at all. Do you require any clarification tonight from anyone at the table, or are you satisfied with the discussion and the action items that are coming back to council?
As per usual, everybody's got their questions in that I was looking for answers for. So yeah, no, I'm good.
Thank you. Councillor Smith, do you have any comment?
I have a question.
Sure thing. Go ahead, sir.
Will any of these units be handicap accessible?
I don't believe so based on the designs that I saw. I believe we had a brief conversation about that back in January. However, I don't believe so, but I'll ask the developer to confirm one way or the other.
No, they
Andrew?
won't be. No, they all have, it's exactly the exact same unit that we have down on Water Street. So it's basically, it'll basically be sort of marketed to, mobile seniors and sort of professional couples. Obviously, we don't discriminate, but that's sort of what it'll be. That's basically what it's going to be. When you look towards the future, though, when you go to, I've got another site plan that we're going to be on next on Stanley Street. You're basically going to have full accessibility there.
So Councillor Smith, that obviously that answers your question. Do you have any further questions?
No.
Thank you very much, sir. With that being said, Deputy Mayor, you got your hand up?
Yeah, just one final concern on our end, actually. Annex 2 seems to be the entirety of our plan that we passed last week. But some of the particulars of that plan have no application here. I'm looking at cul-de-sacs and community mailboxes and all of those requirements. It does lend a little bit of confusion when I was trying to read and figure out which parts were applicable. There are metrics there that, could be debatable. Is there any way that we can work with our planner based on our conversation tonight and based on this to really streamline this so that both the applicant and the municipality are very clear? This is important for everyone. Clarity will make this process so much easier as we move forward.
I'll jump in for you here, folks. So
Thank
this
you,
is a
Justin.
standard, as I understand, this is a standard you folks have approved for your engineering of your road cross sections on this stuff. I wouldn't be recommending changing that. Certainly, I can understand there might be some confusion as some of it doesn't apply. But having said that, nitpicking through it and kind of pulling out stuff that's not applicable can also end up having some negative impacts if you do change things down the road. It's much simpler to keep your standards together. And while it might look, like there's a lot of things on there and some of them may not apply, but if they don't apply, they simply don't apply. Like you're not putting a cul-de-sac in, so we're not going to worry about the cul-de-sac dimensions and those kind of things. We're not worried about some of the other things in there, but it's much, we don't do this quite all that often. It's much simpler to leave your standards in there so that you've got them in place. Because it might be more confusing if the next folks come along and, they're looking at these standards and half of them are gone and they're not sure what's going on. And, it just leads to confusion later on. The more standard we can make it, the better it is. You could go through that exercise, but in all honesty, I think that's just a lot of extra effort on something that may not be the best idea at the end of the day.
Then through you, Mayor, to the planner. Thank you, Mr. Harrow, for contributing. I'm interested to know, how do we clarify then the expectations based on this meeting with the applicant? Right now, I'm seeing a lot of schedules and we're having a lot of conversation, but how do we nail that down? Would we add another schedule to confirm, or what would you suggest?
Well, I think we're really just talking about the road at this point, I believe. Is that fair to say?
Well, we'd have to make the decision based on that information on sidewalks and shoulders. So that would.
Sorry, I just mean we're not talking about servicing and stuff. We're strictly speaking about the road, or sidewalks, or gutters, or ditches.
Absolutely, that type of infrastructure. We're not talking about water and sewer.
Yeah, and I think that the challenge that I just in looking at this is it's difficult to read from these schedules what the exact dimensions are. So I mean, really, what we need is the developer's engineer just to come back and clearly identify what the design is and the dimensions are on this at the end of the day, so that you know what it is that you're getting. So I would really put that. I mean, ultimately, the onus, I think, is on the developer, just getting back to his engineer and clarifying what the road widths will be, what the actual drawing dimensions are, And it could be as simple as blowing up or enlarging the road cross section that they've got on there now. It might be that simple. It's just, it's not 100% clear, I guess, for everyone what it is today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think we've all had a bit of healthy conversation. I think thank you very much for both Andrew, Christine, and Justin's input. It was very valuable. I appreciate that. So I think what I need now is I need a motion in order to receive receive what we're looking at right now, requesting the amendments, the draft come back to council with the amendments for a further approval process. May I have that motion, please? Okay, I've got it from Councillor Hudson, and I got a seconder of the deputy. Any further discussion or clarification required? Any objection? I'm hearing none. This is carried. Thank you very much, all. Thank you very much for participating. We're getting closer.
For clarification for myself and Gail,
Absolutely.
if, and I'm not sure if this feasible, but if the drawings were amended and we were able to amend the site plan agreement to include the landscaping plan, would council be in a position next week to approve this? Or would you prefer to do it at a future planning meeting?
Are you talking about the May 12th meeting to bring it back for further discussion?
It'll have to be passed by bylaw, right? We're
Right.
entering into an agreement, so, and just for preparation for staff.
Well, I'm fine looking at it on the 12th, on the meeting for the 12th. The agenda packages have not yet gone out, right?
Go tomorrow, and I'm
They will
not
go
sure,
tomorrow,
I'm not sure if we can make that target,
right?
but if we do, I just want to know that council would be willing to consider that.
Christine, what I would actually prefer, just to give everybody the opportunity, maybe the 26th meeting might be a little bit more appropriate, just in case there's questions that are going to be arising from the information that we get. It'll give council members the opportunity to do some due diligence, reach out, ask the questions ahead of time, answer the questions if they can, so that we can have a good conversation on the 26th. I'd be willing to look at that as well. The only reason why I ask is because there still will be a further conversation about pedestrian access as well that may or may not be clarified by then.
Perhaps we can schedule a planning specific meeting when we have the materials.
I'm fine with that as an option too. So, you know, we will have an open week between meetings on the week of May 17th. And I'm fine at looking at doing a planning meeting that week if the information comes forward and requires it. We're gonna play it by ear. Staff will let us know when they get the information. Or when we have it, and then from there, let me know. I can go ahead and we can engage council in setting up a meeting to discuss our findings. Is that fair, council and staff? Christine, does that give you and Gail the clarification you need to move forward?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, everyone, thanks again. Moving on to 5.2. This is a weird one. I've never seen anything like this. I'm sure it's probably common in the planning world, but it's not common in my world. So we got page 5.2. It's a cloud on title regarding a severance, a potential severance application, page 49 through to 61. So if anyone was on council in 1975, please let us know what was the intent of this quit claim. That would solve a lot of issues moving forward.
Norm's not here.
No, I guess not. I guess not. With that being said, may I have-
Norm came at 72. He might know something.
So I need a motion to get 5.2 on the table. I've got it with the deputy. May I have a seconder, please? I got it with Councillor Hudson. Any objection? Hearing none, carried. Justin, I'm going to ask for your opinion. I've never seen anything like this before. Is this common? Do you run into this?
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. My understanding on this one is really, you know, probably council of the day thought they'd take the shortcut or take an easy route and do a quit claim to get rid of their road allowance and deed it to somebody else, or was asked to do it that way. And you know, whether things have changed over the years or whether things whether they didn't get it cleaned up quite right. It sounds like at this point, we're all tied up with the registry office, which is really what, where we need to get things satisfied, saying that quick claim deed wasn't good enough. So, regardless of what council thought, 50 years ago or whatever it was, really what we're tasked with is cleaning up the title on this thing. And that isn't something, that is something we deal with all the time, is trying to clean up old title. And generally speaking, it's really the onus of the person, I guess, trying to do the development or whatever it is that it's doing that's driving this, that the onus is on them to have their lawyer review it, come up with a solution to it, and present it to you folks, and make sure that whatever that solution is meets your criteria, or is satisfactory to you folks as well. So really, that's the process. The owner should be going to their lawyer and saying, here's my issue, how do we fix this, and what do you need to do, and what do we need from the town, if anything, and make that request then. And that's really how this process would work, whether you're in whether you're in the town of Deserano, or whether you're in Hastings Highlands or City of Belleville. That's really the approach that we would take on this.
Thank you very much, Justin. I think that helps give us a little bit of clarity of what we're looking at specifically. So everyone knows, back in 1975, we have this quick claim that was made. When we seriously don't know what the intent is, and that's caused the cloud on the title for this severance. Justin gave us some insight to how other municipalities may or may not try to address this situation. I'm asking council, how do you want to handle this? Throwing it out of the table for discussion. Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, I need a couple of things answered before, just for clarity's sake.
Yep.
Does anyone know if we closed this road allowance back in 75?
I think therein lies the issue, is we
Okay.
don't know that.
Because
Hey,
we
sorry,
had
sorry,
an issue
let
similar
me
to
clarify. Let me clarify that. That is the issue, correct, staff? Is we just don't know that answer.
We don't have the answer. It was done by
Yeah.
quick claim deed. It should have probably been done by the stop up and close. We don't have records that show a stop up and close. Therefore, there's a cloud on title, because we're unsure if in 1972 or 74, if that was enough to do this. Registry office is getting, that says no. But you need a lawyer to do searches at the registry office. We can't do that work ourselves. So it's a matter of, will it be ours or the developers?
Supplemental question, Mayor. I'm looking at page 53 of the package, and I see the large red rectangle, and I see the blue rectangle. And my guess is we currently own the red, and the blue is the disputed part. Am I correct in that?
No, I don't believe you are. I
Okay.
believe what's happening is this has come about because this individual wants to do a severance.
Okay.
And they want to sever off the blue chunk from the red chunk that they believe they own.
Okay.
But in that, where this cross is road allowance that's clouded.
Okay.
It's not clear whether the owner actually owns it.
So we could have a situation where a resident believes they own a significant chunk of property, but when it comes to it, the vast majority is road allowance, therefore they can't build. That's one possibility at this point.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Does council have a thought, motion, anything that how they would like to proceed? We're kind of in a legal game right now. We can't make a decision one way or the other. I believe that the applicant is asking council to say, listen, please see our side. You made a mistake. You've done this. You haven't, I think I don't want to say mistake. There's some discrepancy here, and they're asking the municipality, I think, if we're going to further the investigation, and that's what they're asking for tonight. Is that not right, Christine?
It's unclear
Yeah, it is.
whether the council of the day made a mistake.
Right.
Don't know that. If we could say for sure it was a mistake, we wouldn't even be having this discussion at the council table. I would have already done it.
Oh, I totally get that. But what I'm saying is, I
However,
believe,
it's
Yes.
unclear. So I'm looking for council guidance as to whether this council is willing to pay the legal fees on behalf of this developer to get his severance.
Deputy Mayor, thank you, Christine. That's what I was getting to.
Thank you. I think the root of the issue is we want to be as amicable with any developer as possible in a situation where or may or not there might be a mistake on the municipal side. We're a council right now that's going through a lot of work with developing, and we're trying to learn and keep up. What I think what we have to do as a municipality is we do need to do our due diligence, and I think it's probably already been done with the records and scouring to find out if there's anything minuted, recorded, anything that we might have in our files on this. It probably has been done. We need to be supportive, and we need to provide the advice that planning has provided tonight to us, to the applicant directly, and let them know that the next step would be a title search with a lawyer, I guess. We don't know if we're culpable as a corporation for partially or completely. I don't want to speculate on any legal action in the future, but we're an amicable group that would work with someone. If we were in the wrong, we would make that right. So I think the idea today is provide the information, and then they can take their next step as they want to go, and keep us in the loop on what's going on, and we can support if we're at fault down the road, perhaps.
Any other comments at all from anybody about council? Because I don't quite have a motion yet. I think we're inching into something. But I'm not quite there. Councillor Hudson, you took your mute off.
Yeah, no, I'm still a little confused, so I would like more clarification. That doesn't really give you a motion, Mayor, but kind of where I'm standing at, and reading through the documentation, it was also confusing. So maybe some clarification there in what we're looking at. But if that puts forward a motion to have more clarification, then I'm happy to put that forward.
I'm going to do my best to try to interpret it in my words, and hopefully that will help. And then when I make a mistake, staff and planning can come in and correct me where I'm wrong. I
usually do very well with that. So
Thanks.
Your summarizing is always pretty good.
From my perspective, what we're facing here with Councillor Hudson is in 1975, the council of the day did this quit claim, which we are unsure whether or not it included a stop up and close of road allowance, which would incorporate that T shape that we're seeing on the screen right now. That would have a drastic that would have an effect on this property, obviously, as you can see. The applicant is claiming that their belief is that the town's that their understanding is the town meant to close that off, and that somewhere along the line that process was not done, and they believe that it would be the municipalities. I guess it would be our responsibility to help them prove one way or another. The planning department said traditionally that comes on the backs of those making the severance, and that's where we are. The question being proposed to council right now is by the applicant: is council willing to push this forth to legal, get a legal opinion, or where do we move forward from there? I believe that is the request. It's not written in writing. I'm reading in between the lines based on emails that I've seen go back and forth, but I believe that that's the request on the table. Is council willing to throw this at our lawyer, spend what it would cost to have a quick legal opinion on I guess, are we culpable? And if so, what do we need to do moving forward? Deputy.
I would remove the word culpable out of that statement, sir, but I would agree with that. The situation. Can I propose a solution? Like,
yeah,
if we need to determine whether we close that road allowance, right?
Yes.
That's on us. Whether we opened it or closed it, that's on us. It's coming to us because someone wants to use that property, but we have to determine whether that road allowance is open or closed. We have no record of doing anything with it, so we can assume it's open. There would be a process to close it. And I'm not quite ready to make a motion because I don't know what I'm thinking at this point. but is there a way? We've had previous opinions on road allowances, right? And they stifle a whole bunch of situations. And everyone knows that we've dealt with one probably in the just last 18 months of a road allowance that we have no idea if it was opened or closed, and we think it's still open, but it could be closed. We're in a situation where our records aren't supportive here. I think your request from us is it in our interest to determine whether that road allowance is open or closed?
That's correct. That is my question to council, is whether or not we want to take the initiative and determine that one way or the other to support this development request, or are we going to push it back on the applicant and say, listen, it's up to you to prove one way or the other. I believe that is where we're at.
Sir, I
Yes,
think
sir.
we have a bigger, we could justify a search if we look at a bigger picture issue. There is a road allowance that goes, and it looks like an extension of College Street and intersects with Cross Street. That would be a logical development area in our community in the future. If there was any development in that region north of Dundas Street, we'd have to determine where the road allowances are and what we have and what we don't have. I think if we at least did this component, it would clear up our records and it would be a better marketing tool for development. Would that make sense and satisfy you, sir?
I'm just looking for a resolution, something that we can answer the residents with. I do think that it would be in our best interest to determine one way or the other, to the best of our ability.
If I can jump in,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, my understanding right now is that, and Christine, you may have to correct me, but that area identified in red is owned by an individual or owned by this individual, but it's not, because of this quit claim road allowance issue, it's not clear that that they've got full ownership, or there's a cloud, as we call it, in that. I think you have to take a little bit of a step back here first and say, what is the solution? Like, we're kind of jumping to the conclusion, I think, we're kind of going down the road of, we need to stop up and close this road allowance again to make it all right. And that could be the end result, but there may be other ways to deal with this issue. I'll tell you, my initial thought on all of this is when the town did the quit claim, whenever they did it, that was the solution at the time to solve this problem, and it was probably adequate. I mean, in all honesty, that it was probably the right way to do it at the time, and depending on what's happened throughout that time, something else has probably gone on with it. But I think the first step you need to do is get the lawyers in there to decide what's the best way to remedy this situation. That's what we need to do. So I think in your questions here, we need to just look at, I think Christine's boiled it down. Do you want your lawyers to do that, or do you want the applicant's lawyer to do that?
And that's where I'm trying to get at with the council. But
Okay.
that's exactly where I want to be, Justin. Thank you for helping me articulate that clearer.
So that would be my motion, that we direct our lawyers to initially investigate the situation.
Thank you very much. I can take that. Do I have a seconder for this?
Councillor Smith,
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. Any objection? Hearing none? It is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to bylaws to confirm the proceeding of council. Wow, we made it through. Confirming bylaw 38-21, confirming bylaw for May 6, 2021 council meeting. May I have someone please read the confirming bylaw?
I'll move that read first, second, and third time, sir.
Thank you very much. May I have a seconder please for confirming bylaw?
Councillor Smith,
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. I will take it. Any objections? Hearing none? Carried. Before I close out for an adjournment, I'd like to thank Mr. Isvester. I'd like to thank Mr. Harrow. CAO Christine Martin for all the effort that they put into putting together this agenda for us tonight and helping us come to some decision-making processes. So just to recap everything, I will reach out to council once I get confirmation from staff that we've received clarification on the points that were made from 5.1. From there, we will proceed in booking a meeting to discuss those findings. With that being said, everyone have a great night, and I'll take an adjournment. Motion to adjourn? I'll take it from Councillor Hudson. May I have a seconder?
Counselor Smith.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. Any objection? Hearing none? Carried.